Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Monday morning, everybody, and this is the scene in Sioux Falls at about 10:07 last night. North Dakota State, champions of the Summit League for the first time since 2020, a party that has been 6 years in the making, honestly, since March 13th, 2020, when the world ended because the Bison were on their way to the NCAA tournament that year, and obviously it did not happen. With that, we say good morning, everybody, and welcome to Hot Mic. Team No Sleep is here. We pulled into Moorhead at about 2:50 a.m., leaving Sioux Falls. Thankfully, there was no weather to deal with, so it was a pleasant trip with nobody on I-29 last night. So we are back live here in the big studio, ready to go on a busy, and I mean busy, Monday morning. Overreaction Monday will be rocking and rolling today. We got a lot to get to. Of course, we'll get to what went down in Sioux Falls in just a moment. We'll reflect on another championship weekend in Moorhead. Congratulations to the Spud hockey team, which won a game that, honestly, there were people in Sioux Falls that had no business paying attention to the hockey game that were following that on Saturday night and the ridiculous comeback that happened for Moorhead in their win over Minnetonka, which we'll recap that coming up as well. And the good times keep on going for Moorhead. We get some breaking news with the Spuds as well that we'll get to coming up later in the show. And I have been told, as if you watched our show Friday, we had Bison Athletic Director Matt Larson join us there and said to us that the Bison football schedule is done. And I can tell you it's coming out today. Now, whether it comes out during our show, which would be fantastic, that I don't know. But I can tell you that sometime between now and 9:02 a.m. and 11:59 p.m. Central Time, the Bison schedule and the full Mountain West schedule will be out. I have seen it. I've seen parts of it. Let me just say that. I don't know all the dates yet. Some fans are going to be thrilled. Others will be maybe curious. I'm a little bit of both on that. I'm no fan, but I'm telling you, I'm both curious and thrilled on some of it. So we will get to that when it comes. The Mountain West dropped it yesterday, at least that the schedule will be out soon. UNLV said to set your alarms for 11 a.m. Pacific, which is 1 p.m. Central. So it might come after our show, which would be apropos because that happens all the time. So that could be happening. It's also the start of NFL free agency. We got a bunch of guys getting either cut, traded, or signing with new teams. Any Viking news, and I don't expect the Vikes to be too active. If that does come down the pipe, we will let you know about that as well. So there's no shortage of things to chat about today. But we'll begin our program last night with the Summit League Men's Championship game. And just a quick backstory on this, because if you didn't stay up, and I don't blame you, if you didn't stay up to watch the end of the St. Thomas UND game, because it got done at 45 Central Time. I got my own issues with that, and that's completely television related. But it was the most mind-bending end of the game you can imagine. That St. Thomas, I just seeing them, how they handle themselves, they firmly believe they were going to walk in and win that tournament. That they played well against South Dakota State, didn't dominate, but played well against the Jackrabbits Thursday night. And frankly, ESPN, all their analytics and predictors picked them to win the tournament. And then a funny thing happened where they did not play well against UND and then had the most mind-numbing end of the game possible, and UND won it. So the Fighting Hawks, who slumped all year, at least until Summit League play began, and then caught fire and won 10 games, got to the Summit League championship game to face the team that had been number one all year. The Bison had raced out to a 9-0 league mark. They only lost 2 games all season long. They were the number 1 seed, expected to win the tournament. And frankly, the times of the Bison have gone to Sioux Falls as the number 1 seed in 2009, in 2014, in 2020, they had won the tournament. So with that was the backstory last night for the game between the Bison and the Fighting Hawks. Round 3, they just played last weekend in Fargo. The Bison hammered UND by 30. Crowd was without any South Dakota schools there last night. Grayson Ullman was not He was amazing after he scored 41 against Denver on Friday, 28 on Saturday against UND. Tay Smith, really good again. Remember, he had 7 threes against North Dakota last Saturday. Hit a couple of back-to-back ones to put the Bison up by 4. How about one more? 3 threes. It's 21-14. Bison with the lead, starting to get a little bit of separation in the first half. UND, though, plucky as they are, just kept hanging around. That triple from Zach Kraft makes it a 23-22 score. Kraft's got a nice shot. He's really developed into a nice Division I player. Same score. This is what Ullman did. Off his high school teammate, Andy Stefanowicz, draws the contact and the foul. UND takes the lead. Late first half, the Bison then got some separation again. Nifty feed to Damari Wheeler-Thomas. Cans a triple. Bison are up 3 at 33-30. Now up 5 off the steal. Stefanowicz hits Tay Smith right before the first half horn. He had 4 threes in the first half. Bison take an 8-point lead into the halftime locker room. Second half now. Bison up 7. Trayson Anderson makes it a 10-point Bison lead halfway through the second half. All right, you're thinking, all right, now here comes the separation. You certainly thought it on this step-back 3 from Wheeler-Thomas and the foul. Now, Bison missed their free throws, which has been a theme all season long. That drive, again, all right, there's the hammer, right? They're up 11. It's over. This drive, now it's 13. Okay, yep. With 3:20 to go, they pushed it out that far. But UND didn't get the memo. They had scored 5 in a row. This up and under from Zach Kraft make it 7 in a row. Now it's a 6-point game. They make 2 free throws. Now it's a 4-point game with under a minute to go. And everybody's standing up. The shot of the weekend. Noah Feddersen straight on 3 is a dagger. The 4th-year senior who got benched this season moved to that 6-man role, became the 6th man of the season with the biggest shot of the year for Bison men's basketball. A straight-on 3 that didn't even touch the rim. That made it a 7-point North Dakota State lead. They would make their free throws. The Bison win it 70-62. They are going back to the NCAA tournament for the first time in 6 years. There was a great celebration on the court last night as the Bison will dance. We'll find out a week from yesterday when Selection Sunday on where they're going to head. Wheeler-Thomas was named the Summit League Tournament MVP. He had 19 points. He was fantastic down the stretch with those couple big baskets driving to the hoop. Grayson Ullman made all-tourney team and well-deserved. Grayson Ullman went for 41, 28, and 24 in the 3 games for UND over the weekend as their season comes to a close. The Bison set a school record with their 27th win of the season. After the game, a lot of happy humans to chat about going to the NCAA tournament.
Tonight we didn't even reach it. We didn't play our best game. Obviously we won, and that's what we want to do, but I still think there's a better version of us out there, and we're going to get another chance to show it. So the 3 that obviously sealed the game, just take me through that. Yeah, just happened to be at the top of the key, and TC found me, knocked it down, obviously a big one, but yeah, just a great feeling to hit that.
Tell me about the confidence to step up and take that shot. With Noah Feddersen last year, 2 years ago, had the confidence to step up and do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just all the nights and mornings and days in the gym shooting, that no one else sees, hundreds and thousands of shots, getting those reps up, even when your legs are tired, even when you're sick, whatever. So building that confidence there and then showing it out here.
First time in 6 years the Bison are going back to the tournament. You're a part of that. What's that mean to you?
It means everything. I watched this team as a high schooler after I committed here lose in the final, and I just thought, man, I can't wait to get up here and win one. And, it took 4 years, but the feeling's great to finally get it. Noah,
you and I were on this floor in October. Talk about potential of this basketball team. Do we see the potential fulfilled tonight?
Oh, no, for sure. And honestly, we didn't even play to our ability fully, and we knew that, honestly, but we found a way to grind it out and get the win.
Describe Noah stepping into that three, the confidence to do that. A couple years ago, would Noah Federson have the confidence to take a shot like that?
Maybe not, but shit, he got it now, so that's all that matters.
For you, describe basically taking the game over. You've done that several times this year. Say, you know what, it's not cutting time. I'm gonna get to the basket and make a play.
Yeah, the coaches told me to go make plays, and that's what we did down the stretch.
I want to take you back. You and I talked the day after everything went down in 2020. I know how emotional you were. Tell me, does that make tonight sweeter?
It does. It does, absolutely. And gosh, I hate making things about me, but there's a lot of people, maybe besides Spencer Wilker, that really don't recall it, rightfully so. And I want to make sure that we celebrate this group because this group earned this, absolutely. But you see Jay and Amber Samuelson, Jared's parents here tonight. There's still a piece of that too, like the what ifs.
Describe this basketball game. It seemed like, again, you're talking about your team, the superpower we can bring, and then draw them back in. Is that, again, what you saw against?
Yeah, I honestly thought it was pretty fitting, to be honest with you. Now, and give North Dakota credit. I mean, they fought and fought and fought, and they just wouldn't go away. And I don't know what it got cut to, maybe 4 or something like that. And our guys, our seniors, Noah, just made some big-time legendary plays down the stretch.
Tell me about the guys that stayed. Those are the ones that made the plays. Federson did it. Wheeler Thomas made it. Just that commitment to come back. Andy Stefanowicz, those guys that came back for this year's group were the glue tonight.
Yeah, and that's different, but it kind of exemplifies who they are when you talk competitive character. They talked about, I'm sure they had value to go other places, but they talked about wanting to come back and do something special, and they accomplished that tonight.
Describe what that was like going up. You've done it 5 other times to cut the nets down. How'd this one feel compared to the other one?
I mean, it all feels great. And I want to be really careful. Like, this was a blast, Dom, and there's a lot built up into the last 5-6 years and those things. But it's like judging your kids, man. Like, I've been extremely fortunate to be around some unbelievable players, unbelievable people. Fortunate to be a part of it.
How dangerous is this team in the NCAA tournament?
I like our group, and I'm not going to hold back. And I think there's a better version. We didn't shoot it great all weekend either, and we have the ability to do those things. So we'll get a chance on the national stage to tell our story a little bit. I'm excited about that.
What's going to go through your mind seeing North Dakota State come up on the bracket reveal next Sunday?
Same thing, just happiness. There's a lot of people that I'm excited for, and my happiness usually stems from other people's happiness. Right now, there's a bunch of happy people.
And, off of what David said there, and I think he was visibly emotional. I can tell you, folks, for people that haven't been watching our show that long, we were at the Shack that it was March 12th, 2020. We were getting ready to broadcast the State A basketball tournament, and everything was so uncertain. There was the night the Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID. It was just frankly, I don't want to go back and think about it because it was just the most horrendous, bizarre time ever. But my point on this, Richmond came out and sat next to me at our broadcast position, and he's looking at me, and I can see that he's welled up. He's had emotion here because he's thinking, I don't think we're going to play the NCAA basketball tournament. And literally later, I don't know, an hour after he appeared on the show, they got the call that it was canceled. And this is after they had destroyed UND and they were humming towards the tournament. They were going to likely be a 12 seed, and it was going to be something to watch. And since then, and Dave's been on this show regularly. The amount of people that came up to me when we were in Sioux Falls to tell me how much they appreciate having him on was awesome. And frankly, the post-COVID era was not great for Bison basketball in terms of adapting. When the portal became a deal, Dave struggled with that. He freely admitted it. That took a whole change of what he was comfortable with. And they even missed on some guys, frankly. of trying to add. Just looking for the right pieces, and that happens. And saw the likes of Sam Griesel leave, and I think he was miffed over that, considering Sam was graduating and then played his final year of basketball at Nebraska. The Grant Nelson situation has long been documented. I think that there was a frost there, an iciness there that I think is gone now, but that didn't go over well either, and that was still early in the portal NIL era we're talking about. Granted, it was only 3 years ago. And now the last 2 years, he has built teams, and I firmly believe that team last year with Jakari White and Jack Simone, if they don't get hurt, they could have easily won the tournament. They won 20 games last year. It's really hard to do in this level of basketball. They've won 27 this year. Tip of the cap to Dave. He won't accept it. He'll roll his eyes at me about it when we talk about it tomorrow, but he's done a heck of a job. And we'll see. The latest bracketology from a couple of different sources. CBS has the Bison as a 14 seed, facing, of all schools, Alabama. I had Grant Nelson's brother text me that this morning. A year too late on that one. Boy, the storylines would have been juicy there. Joe Lunardi has ESPN as a 13, and that's where the Summit League is at right now, thanks to NDSU with its net ranking, and that'll be updated here, and we'll check on that as the show goes on. That will likely go up a little bit, so the Bison could be the last 13 seed or the top 14, and that's considering the Summit traditionally is in that 14, 15, sometimes 16 range. That's okay. If UND had won, there's no equivocation they would have been going to Dayton. So this for the league is at least a better, quote-unquote, matchup for the opportunity for them to potentially get a win. We'll follow this throughout the week. It's going to be exciting, obviously, with Selection Sunday coming up 5 o'clock on Sunday on CBS to figure out where the Bison will be going. The regionals are all over the place. St. Louis is one. I talked to Riley Massey's dad last night. That's where Riley's from. They said, hey, we'll bring 1,000 people if the Bison are there. Oklahoma City is another. Portland is one. Tampa is one. San Diego is one. I know Bison football fans are all excited about their travel. Bison basketball might take you. Philly is one. I'm partial there. Buffalo, New York. Let's go. That's another. We'll find out. Greenville, North Carolina. Bison have been to the South, obviously, when they played Duke back in 2019. So those are the possibilities. We'll know come Sunday. We'll also know Sunday the fate of the Bison women's basketball team, because unfortunately for them, they have now left it up to the committee after yesterday's game with South Dakota State in the women's championship game, which we figured was going to be the matchup. And, of course, that was the case. And like how they have played 2 years ago when we were there in Sioux Falls, this game was eerily similar for the Bison women. They made a couple shots early. Molly Lenz at a corner three gave the Bison a 1-point lead. It's a 4-point Jackrabbit lead here. When Hadley Toole is going to be an issue in this league. They have two really young players that are just going to be thorns in the side going forward, and Toole is beyond a thorn. She could be a star for South Dakota State. The Jacks got up by 7. That was Avery Coonan's first basket of the game. It came with 1.5 minutes to go in the first half. That three from Marissa Frost, her only basket of the game, big one, cut it to a 4-point SDSU lead at the half. Second half, Coonan got going. This, the step through, the finish, that tied the game at 32 with 6.5 to go in the third. Next possession down. Bison got a stop. Coonan drives. Now the Bison have the lead for the first time since the first quarter. Big play here. Off an offensive rebound. Coonan fouled and scored. Bison have the lead at 36-34. After that, though, they went cold offensively. Emily Fox, that was the first made three of the game for the Jackrabbits. Gives SDSU a 4-point lead with 3 minutes to go in the third. Molly Lenz would keep NDSU within striking distance. That triple cuts it to 3. In the fourth, the Jacks took over. Fergus Falls native Ellie Kolpack was great, one of the 3 seniors on this team. Here's a rebound that Kunin's upset about, that she thought Meyer pinned her arm. She was great. Again, was Brooklyn Meyer. I think she took it personally on the Summer League Player of the Year. Kunin feeds Carrington Ass. That made it a 5-point game with 2 minutes to go. But the Bison just couldn't register enough offense. Here with this and one from Asp. Cut it to 5 with a $1:30 to go, but here there was 2 critical turnovers. That one by Marissa Frost. She threw it right to Maddie Mathowitz, who read it perfectly. And if you remember the game a couple years ago, here off a miss from Molly Lenz, they started jacking threes at the end, which was ill-timed. Jackrabbits made their free throws, and they're going back to the NCAA tournament. They win a 4th consecutive Summit League championship, 64-51. Much like 2 years ago, the Bison were down 3 going to the 4th quarter. They were outscored by 10 in 2024. Same exact thing, down 3 going into the 4th yesterday, outscored by 10 by the Jackrabbits, as NDSU loses for just the 4th time all year. Kunin was flirting with a triple-double. 12 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists yesterday, but she was outplayed by Meyer. Meyer was great. Tournament MVP, 26 points and 9 rebounds. Afterwards, distraught and frustrated Bison team.
That's the level we got to get to. They'll be good representatives of the Summit League and the NCAA tournament. So congratulations to them. I thought we had a lot of fight today. I was really proud of our group coming into this environment and going toe-to-toe and playing their guts out. We needed just a few more basketball plays. Thought we had some open threes that we did knock down. I thought we had some finishes around the rim that people that normally finish at a really high level just didn't. And there was really, that 6, 7, 8 points potentially, down the stretch would have been a big factor in maybe making it a possession-by-possession game late. Didn't rebound the ball well enough against a very good rebounding team, and probably just didn't finish well enough.
We'll go ahead with questions for the student athletes. Start in the back.
Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo. Avery, tell me, going to the 4th quarter, it's a 3-point game. Describe what happened in the 4th. Why did they get the advantage and win?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought our group just played really well fought really well. And we tried our best to put ourselves in the best position to, go out and win that game. But like he said, maybe some shots didn't fall that normally do fall. So, and we did get out-rebounded. So that always makes a difference in games like this.
Aaron Walling, KBR in Fargo. Avery, what was going on with the offensive rebounding that SDSU was doing there? Like, was it just the way they were playing, or what was going on?
Yeah, I mean, they're just a physical team. I thought they rebounded really well and, flew in there and got boards. So you need to do that to win games, and that's what they did.
Molly, what happened offensively today? You guys, just as Coach said, just didn't ever quite seem to get the rhythm offensively. Was it something they were doing? Was it something you guys were doing? What was it?
Yeah, I mean, they played good defense. I think against them, you have to knock down somewhat contested shots is kind of what we came in thinking, we're going to get some threes that are going to be open, have to knock those down. And like Jory said, we didn't get quite enough to go in today, but I thought we got the looks that we wanted for the most part.
Any other questions for the student athletes? We'll go 2 more over here.
Avery, Jeff Kolpack, the Forum. What makes it so tough to get over the hump in this building?
I mean, it's pretty much a home game for them. I mean, you look out there and it's full of blue, but I thought our fans showed up and supported us the best they could, and it's just a big game, and sometimes your shots aren't going to fall, but I still thought we fought really well.
We'll go last question right here.
You might have some basketball left, Avery, but summarize this season and what it meant to you guys. And NDSU. It was a big year for NDSU women's basketball.
It's been a blessing to be a part of this team. And I'm just so grateful for everyone and our coaching staff and everyone that's just supported us. and it's hard to put it into words.
Jory, off of what Mike asked, I know you mentioned a couple years ago about breaking the door down here. What makes it just tough to get over the final hump in this building and win?
Yeah, well, one, I mean, they're just a really good basketball team. I mean, that's the first thing. I mean, you're playing a really, really good opponent. You know, the environment is what the environment is. We were 12-0 on the road coming into this one, and we talked about it being a road game and trying to be 13-0 on the road. Tough to do. You know, but again, it comes down to, you know, in a game where it's pretty evenly matched teams, you got to make the 2 or 3 plays that are the separators. And I thought there was a multiple throughout the game. We got some, but they got more. You know, and then it's 4, 5, 6 point game down the stretch for a little while. And when we needed the big shot or the finish, we just didn't get it when we needed it.
Brooklyn Meyer was okay again tonight, as always. And she made some big plays. You talk about they shot an air ball, and she ended up getting the rebound and putting it back up for a bucket late, which is a big bucket at the time. Just to describe her play and what she does. And how
yeah, I mean, she's just a fantastic player. She's physical. You know, we do our best to front her and try to keep it out of there. There's a reason, you know, she gets some offensive rebounds, just the position that we put, you know, Avery in with her, you know, and trying to guard the three-point line better that way. But, I mean, she's an animal. She has been her entire career. She's one of the best players in the country. Her physicality and ability to finish with both hands and use angles and seal is just really high level. So, obviously, she's a tough matchup for everybody.
I'm guessing it's a little soon, but any thoughts of the at-large berth possibilities?
Yeah, I mean, I would have no idea, Jeff. I hope that there's a discussion. I hope we're in the discussion. I hope people are sitting around and talking about us being 28-4. But I really have no gut feeling whatsoever on that. I would guess it's a long shot, but I hope there's a percentage chance there.
So right there is what you need to leave it with. You wake up this morning, the net rankings, and that's what goes into picking at large berths. The Bison fell to 47th. They were as high as, I believe, 39 at one point. South Dakota State is at 40, and the Bison are at 47. ESPN's Charlie Cream put out a updated bracketology late last night after the results, and you can see here on the screen, and for those listening on the podcast, North Dakota State is now one of the first 4 teams out. BYU, Utah, Texas A&M. Look at, by the way, top right, the last 4 in. Nebraska is on there, and that's big because the Huskers, remember, beat the Bison in Sioux Falls back in November. Head-to-head has to matter, folks, and if they're going to take the Huskers, that means the Bison are likely out. We'll spend more time on this later in the show. We're way overdue. We had a healthy here first segment, but wanted to make sure we unpacked everything from Sioux Falls. Our guest lineup today is brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. We'll do best of the weekend. We normally do it at 9:20. We'll do that later in the show just because we got to get to our usual guest. Sam Herder coming up in a few minutes to unpack some FCS chatter. We'll do that with Sam here in just a few minutes. Kolpack is driving back from Sioux Falls, so we'll get Jeff's thoughts on what he saw this weekend from both Bison basketball teams and what's ahead. The Bison men, both teams are going to be playing games. Bison men are in the NCAA tournament. The Bison women, we'll find out coming up next week. That and a heck of a lot more here on a busy Overreaction Monday. So we'll take our first break here after a healthy opening segment. Hot Mike returns after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KNBN, and Inforum.com after this. That was a healthy opening segment. Let's get back on track. Sam Herder coming up. We'll chat some ball. Your emails coming as well. Hot Mike back on a Monday morning right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. We're back on track here after a rather beefy opening segment. Yeah, I know we're talking hoops, and the madness is here. Our guy Sam Herder actually covered the madness when he was an NDSU student. We were just reminiscing about that. You made a couple trips to Sioux Falls. You actually probably made, for Bison fans, maybe their 2 favorite trips. 2014, the last year of the old Sioux Falls Arena. Taylor Braun hits the game-winning shot for the Bison to beat Fort Wayne. And then the following year, the first year in the Premier Center, when the Bison beat the Jacks by 1, and no one expected NDSU to win that game, and they spoiled the party in the new building.
Yeah, and I was telling you, too, off air that just with all the events I've covered, the Summit League basketball tournament has been among my favorites. And it's been, 10 years now, more than 10 years since I've covered it. But I just remember that whole weekend was fun. I just really like the tournament style, win or go home, the women's side as well. While NDSU wasn't competitive back then, it was both South Dakota schools were really, really good. And it was just a really fun weekend. Back when I had my media credentials behind me, I had like the Summit League one up, like almost close, up front and center. So that was always a really cool event that I covered back in the day.
All right, so we're now spring balls are getting going here for a lot of schools. I know the Bison actually will start theirs in a couple weeks' time. So we're creeping towards the start of the spring calendar. What are we paying attention to right now as we're into mid-March?
Yeah, I think it's a bit different this year in that if you go back to last year, so many of the top teams had new starting quarterbacks, whether it was the Bison or Montana State, UIW, South Dakota State. Montana, Ayat was coming back, but we didn't, he was kind of a half starter a couple of years ago. This year, there are so many top level quarterbacks coming back. But one top team that will have a new starter is USD. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. I know they brought in Jackson Proctor, who was a good quarterback a couple of years ago, a starter for Dartmouth. Majeski, he's a redshirt freshman, Colorado Player of the Year. They really like him, but he's kind of a younger guy. So that's a really interesting battle right there. And then just like Montana, right? What do they look like without Bobby Houck now? Do they look like kind of the Montana team of old, or are there some things that fans can see with their kind of amateur eye that, this is a little bit different, or is it kind of just the same old Montana and they kind of look the same? It sounds like their defensive scheme will look different, but offensively, I think they're going to be, about the same, which is a good thing because their offense was really good last year.
I am intrigued on the quarterback battles of teams that have been routinely good and what is going to pan out there. I'm interested as well just to see now with the crater that NDSU leaves of who fills that in. Like, are we going to see somebody, and I think we talked about this right away after the Bison made the announcement, Sam, like, all right, who will maybe join that echelon of teams that we've always talked about? Maybe nobody will, but I'm interested if somebody will step to the forefront and say, all right, we want to be better in FCS football.
Yeah, and I had Craig Haley on last week, and that's what we talked about with NDSU leaving. It does create an opportunity for someone to take that spot. And that is, if you want to call it best case scenario, like more teams rise up and there's more parity. Worst case scenario is where before it was like 4 tier 1 teams and then a gap between everyone else. Now, is it just 3 top tier teams and everyone else? There's just one less top tier team. Like, it could go that way as well. So, you can look at a team like Illinois State, who I think has a decent core coming back. I think their offense will be super experienced for the most part. Just new starting quarterback. That's a big question mark there for the Redbirds. But, I think South Dakota State will be fine. I think they'll bounce back from a down year last year. Montana will be interesting. But I think even if NDSU was still in the FCS, I still think Montana State would have been preseason number 1 for sure and the favorite. But now that without NDSU, that's one less legit title contender for the Bobcats. And so I don't know if it's Montana State versus the field. Like 2018, it was NDSU versus the field. 23, it was South Dakota State versus the field, where like anyone else that wins it would have been a surprise. I think Montana State is the heavy favorite, but I do think they have a couple of contenders. South Dakota State, comes right to mind. We'll see what the Grizz look like, but I think Montana will be very good as well.
I had an email here over the weekend I wanted to share with you. Dom, longtime listener to the show, really appreciate how well you guys cover NDSU football and other sports. I hope you'll continue the segment with Sam, as I've enjoyed following the FCS as a whole for a long time. I'm still interested in what's going on there, especially with the other Dakota and Montana schools there. I only bring that up because I had several other people say that to me. Hey, you're going to keep this going? And I said yes, simply because I can't just cut cold turkey. I'm not going to do that. And B, I want to know what's going to happen with the teams you just mentioned, because I'm really interested on that. And I had a couple South Dakota State fans come up to me at the Summit League tournament saying, they're excited to see what happens. But I think they were also melancholy about it as well, Sam. Like, I think there was part of them, they want to be going as well, at least for the couple that I talked to yesterday.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you still having me
Absolutely.
on. It's always a good way to start my Monday. And yeah, I think there'll be, like we've talked about before, like it seems like most Bison fans have been ready to go to the FBS, but I still think a lot of them will still have a general interest in what's going on in the FCS. They might not be in the weeds paying attention to the FCS, but I mean, I know there's still James Madison fans that still follow me, and they read about who's in the top 25, and there's a small, very small handful, like less than 5 GMU fans that still go, to the national championship game. So I still think there'll be a somewhat level of interest in the FCS when in Fargo. Now, if Montana State, South Dakota State move up to the Mountain West in 2030, then that interest in the FCS probably dwindles a little bit. But yeah, when it comes to South Dakota State fans, I've kind of seen a mixed bag. Certainly, whenever there's FCS to an FBS jump, there's like that few day, I don't know if I want to say freak out, but kind of the social media discourse of like, oh, we got to go to, like, everyone's ditching the FCS and going to the FBS. So then a week later, it's like, well, it's maybe that was a bit of an overreaction. But for South Dakota State fans, I think the want to go FBS just naturally increases when they see that NDSU is also going to the FBS. I also don't think, like, if South Dakota State got the deal, quote unquote deal that NDSU got, I think Jackrabbit fans for the most part would be excited about that. Now, if it was to the MAC, like Sacramento State, I don't think South Dakota State fans want to go to the MAC or Conference USA. Mountain West, yes. But I still think the FCS playoffs is still fun for South Dakota State fans. They still enjoy, like, making national championship runs compared to NDSU fans, where understandably it was not getting old or boring, but been there, done that plenty of times. So I still think there's a good chunk of South Dakota State fans that said, look, would we like to be in the FBS within 10 years? Yes. But are we going to go, like, kick down every single door, be as aggressive as possible, and go as soon as possible? Maybe not, because I still think the FCS is a good home for South Dakota State, at least for the time being.
So I had another email come in, and this is a good one to ask you, what are the chances, or who'd be the favorite for the Peyton? Is it Brungard overwhelmingly to win it again next season?
Oh, that's a good question. I think because there hasn't been a whole lot of back-to-back.
No.
Jeremiah Briscoe. Controversially.
Yes, totally.
Fargo, he won back-to-back. Totally. I think Amonte Edwards, as well, from App State, won back-to-back 20-some years ago. I think if he continues to play like he does, especially with his dual threat abilities, he's certainly the favorite. But I also look at, like, DJ Williams, right, in the Missouri Valley Football Conference, Southern Illinois. He's also a dual threat guy. I think he'll be up there as well. Austin Peay's Chris Parson, he's really, really good as well. He'll put up big numbers. Devin Farrell from Rhode Island, he'll put up big numbers. Maybe like Ayat, from Montana, just because he's a recognizable name, he'll be in that mix as well. But I do think if Bo plays like he does, he'll be the big time favorite again.
I know, speaking with him, they were beyond excited about having the Bison come to their place because NDSU hadn't been there in 5 years. So I know that they're really bummed on the fact of that. But you look at who they're playing. They have a FBS game with Kentucky, and Kentucky's got a new staff there. And I'm really interested. He could go crazy again. He really could, especially non-conference-wise. There's no stopping what he could do early on in the year.
Yeah, and I think he has a good chunk of his offensive line coming back, which is, a big time positive. I mean, there are so many times, a lot of his rushing yards weren't even necessarily designed quarterback runs. It was just him scrambling around and then making a play downfield. Defensively, Youngstown State, certainly needs to improve. I think they made a nice hire with taking Mercyhurst, their head coach, and hiring him as DC. So Youngstown State, could maybe be considered a dark horse type team, just because anytime you return a starting quarterback, that kind of jumps off the page. And then when that quarterback is a star quarterback, I think Youngstown State, if they can fix that defensive side of the football and go from, average to a good defense, I think they can really take that next step as a program.
Last thing before we go, I know you're working on right now the trying to get all the game contracts for the FCS, FBS games. Who's got the juicy paychecks coming up this fall?
Yeah, there are 125 FCS versus FBS games. Possibly, we'll see what NDSU and Sacramento State do. So maybe a couple more. I think I have 95-ish payouts. So some of them aren't going to be accessible just because of you have to be in the state to request that information, or because of private schools. But you look at McNeese going to LSU, that's $750,000. Florida A&M going to Miami, $740,000. Northern Iowa, hey, they're getting $700K from Iowa.
Wow.
So
okay.
It's some good payouts right there. And then, at the low end, you got Sacred Heart UMass, $250, NCA&T at Georgia State. That's the lowest I've found. That's $225,000. I mean, hey, that's still good money for FCS athletic departments, but it's kind of a long range of payouts here. And that's, taking the NDSU angle, that's a positive of making the jump, because now all of a sudden, if you play an FBS opponent and you're an FBS team, that payout goes to usually at least $1 million, depending on who you play.
Exactly right. That's why I know that's why that Oregon or the Montana State NDSU game for Vegas next year is going to stay, because it's $1 million. It's $1.2 million to each school, and the Bison aren't going to sneeze at $1.2 million. That's why they're going to keep that game on the schedule.
Yeah, that's pretty much a Power 4 payout,
right?
And I think somewhere in the contract, I might be wrong, but it says if they sell more tickets than expected, both teams can pocket the additional ticket revenue. So, it's Vegas. I guess NDSU fans will be familiar going there anyways, but it's still a destination game. It's a familiar opponent in Montana State. Yeah, you run the risk of possibly losing to an FCS team as an FBS opponent, but Montana State's going to be really good in 26. We'll see what they're like in 27, because you never know what Brent Vegan, he'll be in the mix once again. But I still think that's an exciting game, a destination game, and should be a really cool atmosphere in more than a year here in 27.
You're the man. You're requested on the show, so we're making sure it stays. So appreciate the time as always, bud. We'll talk later, okay?
All right. Sounds good. Thank you as always.
Sam Herder starts our week here every Monday at 9:35 to chat some FCS football. I got a couple emails, requests for the man to make sure we keep it up. And I told people, and I said it right away after we found out the news on the mountain. I'm not going to do that, because I know we have a ton of people that watch our show, if they're in Grand Forks, if they're in Brookings, in Sioux Falls. Certainly I found that out this weekend, or Western South Dakota. They'd like to know what's still going on. We cover it, and we're going to keep doing that. We're going to certainly not do it as much as we used to, because I think it wouldn't serve for us. We need to know what's going on in the Mountain West, and we need to know those teams. But I'm not going to just say, well, we're done with that, because I'm not going to do that. Let's break. Come back. We'll wrap up our first hour. Jeff Kolpack will join us on the road. Hopefully not breaking any laws. This was the tweet that UNLV put out. On the bottom, it says right there, 11 a.m. Pacific time. That means 1 p.m. for the Mountain West schedule. Back to wrap up hour one after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thanks to Sam Herder for giving us a few minutes here. Beautiful Monday morning to start our week. Oh, I had a couple emails here on the basketball. We'll save a few of these for later in the show as well. Dom, congrats to the Bison. Well-deserved win. But you are correct. The late-night game where UND beat St. Thomas was a testament to coaching and belief by the players there. It's also a testament to I don't know what was going on. St. Thomas thought that they were just going to waltz in there and win that thing. I really believe that. And I was sitting courtside after the press conferences wrapped up, and I'm on my laptop and editing stuff to get back to the station for First News for the next morning. And across the court comes Johnny Tower with Nolan Minasali and I think Nick Janowski. They're two standouts. And for those listening on the pod, I will do my best, but their chins could have hit the floor. That's how they were just drooped. They were just devastated. Devastated. And we had Phil Eston on the show on Friday, St. Thomas's athletic director, and I think they had a lot of confidence that they were going to go in there and first year doing it and win this thing. And especially how they played against the Bison. That game at the end of the regular season where they beat NDSU by 24. That, we're going to go in there. We'll take care of UND. But remember, UND beat St. Thomas in St. Paul. That crazy Eli King. You thought that game was wild. The game to end on Saturday night was we'll pull the video up in the second hour. I think we got to show it again because it was the most wild ending of a game that you can imagine. But there was definitely, I think, arrogance gets thrown around a lot with that school, and maybe it's rightfully earned. I think there was a lot of confidence that they were going to win that event, and obviously they did not. Now, will they get a berth in another tournament? Maybe. That was the other discussion point we were having leading into the game yesterday on the men's side with NDSU. Like, if the Bison men didn't win, what would happen? Was the NIT a possibility? And from what I understood, the NIT was a complete long shot. The NIT now is basically, it's another Power 4 tournament. If you don't make the NCAAs, well, if you're 16-15 and you play in the SEC, well, come on in. We'll take you. Thankfully, NDSU doesn't have to worry about that. Now, St. Thomas finished the season, their net ranking actually higher than NDSU at 105. They finished with a mark of 23-9. I don't think that's enough to get into the NIT. If I didn't think the Bison were getting in, I don't think St. Thomas is getting in. Now, could they play in the CBI or the CIT? Maybe. But those tournaments you have to pay to get in. Like the Bison women over the last couple of years have had to basically pay to play in the WNIT. That is different than the tournament now they're qualified for. If they do not get, this is the Bison women, I know I'm jumping around a little bit. If the Bison women are not selected for the NCAA tournament, they will automatically go to the Women's Basketball Invitational. That's the WBIT. That's the next tournament up. And, ESPN and the NCAA pays the freight on that. So they have that if they decide to go that route. All right, we'll break. We come back. We'll talk about the Bison dancing. Jeff Kolpack will join us on the road back from Sioux Falls to Fargo after North Dakota State's win last night over North Dakota. Coming up when we start Hour 2 on a Monday morning after this.
This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo. It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2. Forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4! I should have yelled 2. Somewhere on the side of the road, I-29, there he is. Jeff Kolpack joining us. You're not driving right now, right? Do you pull over?
I am not. I'm actually in Watertown, South Dakota.
Okay.
Pulled over.
It's a nice day to drive, right?
Just for you, Dom. I pull over for you. I just continue to give to you all the time.
You only pulled over because you didn't want to miss the Bison football schedule coming out, didn't you? That's why.
Well, that too. Exciting day, isn't it?
It's a big day. A lot going on. A lot going on in Sioux Falls last night. The Bison men are heading back to the NCAA tournament after an 8-point win over North Dakota. Give me your thoughts on first the game. How the Bison. This was a typical Bison game where they stretched out the lead, and then UND came back, and Noah Federson of all people hits the game-winning shot to send the Bison to the tournament.
Yeah, it really made it tough on themselves, didn't they?
Yeah.
There's several times during the game you thought, okay, here's a chance to just put this team away. But a couple silly turnovers. Andy Stefanovic didn't have his best game. I thought there's a few decisions he made that were really not, what he usually does. Missed some free throws. You know, it's just, I guess that's a title game for you. It's not always perfect. But in the end, I just think they had a better defensive team than UND, and that's just that team's MO. They're pretty tough kids out there. I mean, that game was not for the meek, and I say that with both teams. I mean, it was guns blazing all the way around.
Well, I look at how Tay Smith goes out there, hits 4 threes in the first half. It wasn't the 7 that he made, obviously, when they played UND last week, but just his ability to get loose, that UND still could not do that. They couldn't cover him in Fargo, and they couldn't cover him last night.
Yeah, but they held him down in the second half, though.
They did.
I mean, they obviously got a handle on him. They didn't let him go off, in that case when it counted like that. But, credit to Dave Richmond and the way he builds a program.
Yes.
I mean, this team is no different than all the previous 5 that have made the NCAA tournament. Dave wasn't the head coach, of course, all of them, but they just sort of you can't really outscore teams this time of year.
No.
And so you got to do it with tough rebounding and you got to defend. And I think they defended last night when it counted too.
Damari Wheeler-Thomas made the big shots as well, driving the second half, couple of big-time plays there, especially down the stretch, the 3 that he got fouled in the corner. You can't say, I mean, Damari didn't play last year, Jeff, and I was of the mindset, we were talking this time last year, that I didn't think he was going to come back. And the 2 guys that did return, Feddersen and Wheeler-Thomas, are the reason why the Bison are going to be playing in the NCAA tournament.
Well, that's what gets you there, your veterans. I mean, yeah, you guys that have been around that have a little more, stake in the game because this is probably their last shot. Although those guys, who knows what it'll be next year. But you don't have many opportunities to make the NCAA tournament. Yeah. And so, and I think the older you get, the more you realize that as a player and the more urgency you have with that. And so I think that plays a factor. Noah's shot was the biggest shot of the year.
Yes.
I mean, there's no question. I mean, UND had cut it to 4. They had all the momentum in the world. They came back the previous night of kind of a miraculous rally against St. Thomas and won that game. And who's to say they couldn't do it again? Noah Feddersen, 6'10", not the team's first 3-point
option.
Probably option.
No.
But yeah. But he drained that, and you're like, wow, okay. Now there's a senior, and I'm going to call him a senior, even though he's got a year eligibility. There's a senior making a shot when he had to.
Yeah, just a clutch shot, and honestly he embraced. I talked about this earlier in the show. He embraced, Jeff, moving to the bench. I think some guys this day and age may have gone in the tank. He didn't do that. He ended up being the 6th man of the year.
Yeah, he got better.
Yes,
and sometimes. It just takes a little pressure off when you're not starting for whatever reason, and it's a role and that's going to suit him wherever he goes next year.
Yep.
They're going to look at him and go, okay, this guy can come off the bench and do something, and we know he won't sulk and complain because he's not starting. So I think he's money just doing that, and we'll see where he lands next year, but. Yeah, I just Damari Wheeler-Thomas was. I didn't think he was coming back either for whatever reason.
No,
I didn't. I just thought, okay, he's going to move on like everybody else.
I look at for Dave Richmond to do what he did, and obviously there were a lot of hard feelings. I think when Sam Griesel left, Jeff, when Grant Nelson left, and it took Dave a little bit to adjust. And I know Mike wrote about this in his column for Inforum last night on getting into the portal and using it properly. He's adjusted to that now, and boy, the last 2 years he's built really good team. That team last year won 20 games. They got hurt at the end. This year they've won 27. He's fully adapted to the new NIL portal world.
Do we think Dave's in line to maybe move on too?
Well,
he's built a pretty good resume here, and now he's built a team in the modern way of college basketball.
Correct.
So if I'm an AD at a bigger school, I'm going, okay, this guy knows how to recruit, knows how to bring transfers. He knows how to handle a team. He knows how to coach defense. And, there's really nothing about Dave Richmond's resume, if he wants to move on, that would say he can't.
That was the talker, I think, last night, national media-wise, just scrolling through social media and listening to a couple of basketball shows on the way back, that they were surprised. Why is Dave still in Fargo? And he likes being here. He likes winning, and obviously that's worked out. Now, could that potentially change? There are already jobs open. Let's see, right? What could come down the pipe?
Yeah, I mean, obviously his family's here, his daughters are rooted here.
Yep.
So you have that. So I don't, I've never talked to him about situations like that, but so I don't know. It's the business. I know he's looked at other stuff before.
Correct. It's not right. Exactly. Wouldn't be out of
and on that note, Jory Collins, is he going to stay around?
Well,
he's got to be pretty marketable too.
Let's talk on the women's before we get to Jory about the game yesterday. It wasn't it was very similar, frankly, to the game 2 years ago down there, and almost similar to the game that was played up here in Fargo a couple weeks ago where the Bison offensively couldn't do anything. South Dakota State clamped them down. Avery Coonan was good, but Brooklyn Meyer was better. That's the best way to say of what happened, I thought, in the women's championship game.
Yeah, and you're never going to win over South Dakota State unless you build a team significantly better than the Jackrabbits. That's the only way. It's such a great home court advantage that they have, and I would relate it to a lot of football teams and a lot of quarterbacks coming into the Fargo Dome and trying to, go against that Bison defense when everybody's screaming in your ear and you can't hear.
Yep.
Same way when the Bison are on offense down at the Denny Sanford Premier Center and NDSU's they can't hear each other make calls, and Jory's yelling from the bench and the players can't hear him. I mean, that's a huge difference. Yeah. It's a huge, home field or home court advantage. Until NDSU can find a way to build a better team, and especially inside, because the Jacks really, and what Aaron Johnson, I thought, appropriately said in the post-game press conference, he thought the game was going to be won 10 feet in, and he was right.
Exactly right.
What was it, rebounding, 43-27?
Yeah, it was
like
dominant. South Dakota State dominated on the glass, and that was evident early on in the game, frankly. They were getting every offensive rebound to start, and yet the Bison were right there. You looked at me, it was a minute and a half to go, and they were down 5 after the Carrington Asp and 1. I'm like, they're still in this game, and then they had 3 just brutal turnovers to end the game.
Yeah, again, that's until you find a team to be able to not be down 5, at that point in the game. And it's going to be – I don't see anything changing with South Dakota State and this run of titles. There's just no end in sight.
Now, Jory Collins, when you asked him about the at-large bid, thinks it's a long shot. You agree with that for the potential for the NCAA tournament? Yeah,
and I think, there's a couple things. One, NDSU lost to Nebraska, and I believe Nebraska is a bubble team.
They are, correct.
If you do that head-to-head, beating Gonzaga would have really helped at home earlier this season. Yep. Bison didn't shoot well, if I recall, and so you don't have that.
Nope.
I just don't see it happening. I think it should for the betterment of the game. But
it's 28-4.
I know. Yeah.
It's just like, who are we taking in over them? But you're exactly right. That's what's going to happen. And then if the WBIT will be calling. Now let's go to your Jory Collins point, because I think here's what I'll say on this, and then you can agree or disagree. If they had made the tournament, I think he's certainly a heck of a lot more marketable. Not to say he isn't, but I think you make the tournament, you get a lot more shine on you. That's not to say that I don't think his phone. I think his agent's phone will be ringing if it's not already.
28-4 is 28-4.
Yeah.
And not only that, he took a program that was just absolute in the dumpster fire.
Correctamundo.
And it took a little longer, I think, than he wanted to build it to where it was and is. But the facts are facts. He's turned a program and took it to the doorstep of the NCAA tournament. Yeah, absolutely, he's marketable. I mean, guy can coach.
Yep. How often were you asked about Avery Coonan returning when you were in Sioux Falls the last few days?
Every 20 minutes. I don't know.
What's your gut tell you there?
Well, she got 1 more year. If she had 2 more years, I think she'd certainly be wooed by big. I don't know. Does it make a difference? You have 1 or 2 years? I think it might. Elle Evans had 2 years and went. I don't know. It just depends on a lot of factors. If money is an issue or not. If what kind of money are they talking?
Right.
Does she really like it at NDSU? I mean, if she stays, she has a chance to finish as one of the all-time program greats. Elle Evans was on track to be the all-time leading scorer.
Correct.
But I don't know if those things matter to kids anymore.
Yeah.
You're leaving your legacy.
Yeah, that's.
I don't. Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. I just sometimes the amount of money is like I can't say no to that, and I imagine Avery would be it's hard to if you're 21 years old, 22 years old, you can see that like oh yeah, I don't blame them one bit if they get that thrown at them. That's just the name of the game of where we're at.
Yeah, the difference is I don't know if there's life-changing money per se in the women's game.
Probably not.
Like Jakari White getting whatever 1.6 million and Trace and Eaglestaff getting over $1 million.
Yes,
I don't think that's the case in the women's game, but is 100,000 make a difference? 200? I don't know what's the number there that makes a difference. And don't forget, she's getting money here too.
Correct. She's getting compensated here pretty well too for what she's been doing the last 3 years in Fargo. All right, before we go, is there a date on the schedule? You can't wait to see. We know the opponents, at least in the conference. But is there one like I can't wait to see blank?
Wow, that's a good question. I can't wait to see where the Hawaii game fits on the schedule.
Okay.
If there's a bye game built in that.
Yep.
When is Air Force? Who's the non-conference games? There's not one thing that I want to, can say I'm looking for this. It's the whole shebang.
Yeah.
This is new territory.
I'm excited to see where the road games fall, and to your point on the Hawaii game, what's built around that? How did if they buffered it with a bye or not? I know you talked about that with me a couple weeks ago, that some schools have not done that. That would be intriguing to see how that's going to pan out here in a couple hours.
And I think we're pretty sure that the travel will match that 2006 season when I was literally traveling the country with this team with Georgia Southern, Southern Utah, Stephen F. Austin. It was a UC Davis,
Mississippi Valley State. You hit that.
Maybe I'm. I can't. That was Minnesota Ball State.
Yep. That was all that year. So we're gonna be hitting the road. By the way, email here to let you go. Tell Jeffrey there's a lot of highway patrol in the Watertown area. I just went through there, so just a heads up.
I know, I've seen it. Yeah. Well, the speed limit's 80. How much more do you need?
I know it. Well, last night at about 2:30, I enjoyed it thoroughly of going that fast. Safe travels. Thanks for giving us a few minutes, and we'll talk to you later. Okay.
All right, see you later, my friend.
There he goes, Jeff Kolpack from the road as he's on his way back after yeoman's work in Sioux Falls over the last few days. And I think he's dead on a couple angles there on the Dave Richmond deal. And Dave, we've talked about it. Mike wrote about it. He's got a year left on his deal. The athletic director is, I know, busy today as they're doing, I think it's semifinalist interviews for the new president at North Dakota State. But if not, in the next couple weeks, we want to talk about extension with the men's basketball coach. That probably make me a lot of sense. Jory got a new deal extension, I want to say 2 years ago. It was when the Bison women made it to the Summer League Championship game, and then they made their run in the WNIT and lost to Minnesota. Jory got extended there. It makes a lot of sense if someone would come calling. But again, I will point out your shine, and when you make the NCAA tournament, there's a different deal of that. Now, not saying they couldn't, and frankly, I'm on board with the fact they should be in. I don't think they're going to be in. Does that make sense? 28-4 should be enough to get you in. I just don't think they're going to. I think that if the bracketologists are putting it out now that they're one of the last four out, and one of the teams they lost to is ahead of them. Too many headwinds there. On the Coonan part, I'm done predicting on this because I thought, well, that for sure they're going to be gone, and then they came back. My gut tells me here that she'll stay, but you couch it, and I'm going to play both sides of the fence. I wouldn't be surprised at all if she goes. So we'll see. That's the debate, and we'll be following that on the Bison Hoops front. I can tell you this: on the men's side, expect movement. There is no doubt about it. We already know Wheeler Thomas and Feddersen are going to be gone. They walked, but there will be more coming. So the full rebuild again will be on for David Richmond for next basketball season, no matter what happens in the NCAA tournament coming up in a couple weeks' time. All right, let's break. We'll get to best of the weekend coming up. We've delayed it long enough. We're going to do that. We got still a bunch of emails to get to and talk about the other big news that's coming out of Moorhead, Minnesota as well today. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns. We're back after this. All right, we normally do it at 9:20, but we got super heavy with what's going on with the basketball games last night. So we move into an hour later with our best of the weekend. And first off, best of the weekend was what our crews did all over the place. We had sports coverage in St. Paul, Minnesota for the Minnesota Boys State Hockey Championship games with Warroad and Moorhead. We had a crew in Minot for the girls Class B Championship. Shout out to Lemoore Litchfield Marion. Congratulations to the Lobos winning the championship there. We had a crew in Jamestown for the girls Class A basketball championship. Congratulations to Valley City. Highliners go back-to-back. We had a crew positioned up at the Shack all weekend long for the EDC basketball tournament, which was always is wild. So glad we do that, because for years I was pounding on the table, we should do this. There's always some crazy games. We had that. The Cheyenne boys beating Horace in the semifinals to get a berth of the state tournament. Horace did win in its state qualifier game to get a trip there. So we were literally everywhere. We had a crew in swimming as well in West Fargo. Just a bonkers last few days. So I apologize if you're not included on this list, because it's impossible to pare it down. But there's no way we're going to ignore what happened in St. Paul on Saturday night. Because, again, I was saying the UND St. Thomas men's basketball game's going on, and the Spuds in Minnetonka are playing. And, frankly, if you turn the game off at 9 o'clock, I wouldn't have blamed you, because it wasn't looking good for Moorhead. And if you woke up Sunday morning and saw your phone alert, like, what? The Spuds won? Yeah, it was just an unbelievable hockey game. Minnetonka dominated the first period to the tune of a 3-0 lead. Will Arnold, Moorhead's goalie, all props to him, because he easily could have just shut it down and like, this is not my night. And instead, Moorhead just kept coming. That goal makes it a 4-2 score. Spuds have got some life to them. 6:40 to go now in the third. Zach Zimmerman scores. Game on now. Now, as they like to say, one-goal game. It's 4-3. Worst lead in hockey, right, is the 2-goal advantage. Now you got a game. 40 seconds left. The Minnetonka nearly cleared it. Zimmerman on the rebound scores with 35 seconds left, and pandemonium is happening. I'm still going to call it at the Xcel Energy Center. Like, they've come all the way back. They play 8 minutes of sudden death. No one scores. Evan Warner in the second overtime with the wrister to give Moorhead a second consecutive state hockey championship. Pandemonium for a program that had lost 8 times in this game. And it looked like they were going on their way to lose a 9th. They come all the way back in one of the great, great games in the history of this hockey tournament. And they've had some doozies. This one is going to be up there. Fall behind 4-1 and win it 5-4. Watch this goal again. That is a beautiful wrist shot. Back to back for the Moorhead Spuds. The hardest thing they say to do is to win when everybody expects you to do it. Everybody thought, well, Moorhead's awfully good again. They went and did it. Quick postscript on that. After the game, the Minnetonka team elected not to meet with the media. And this is going to come as sour grapes from a media person, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a coach and you're trying to show leadership and trying to show what happens in moments of despair, what happens in tough moments, and trying to lead and show growth and show what you're supposed to do in times when things aren't always rosy for you, blowing off the media may seem like it's a strong move, like, yeah, we're not going to talk. No, it's the opposite of that, honestly. And frankly, I'm okay with the kids because they're 18 or younger, not talking to us. I got no time for the head coach blowing them off. No. You come out there, because there's no way they wouldn't have been out there all smiling if they won the game in overtime. And you knew who also would have been out there? Because I know him. John Ammerman would have been out there to talk had they lost. And his players wouldn't have been out there. That's a Bush League move by Minnetonka. I don't care for it at all. And you can say, well, it's the media just being upset again. No, it's about leadership. And the Minnetonka staff showed none. And frankly, where's the AD and principal on this? Like, that is not a good look all around. I hope they get ripped on it because that's not how you do it. I'm pretty sure Hibbing and Chisholm, who lost in the Class A title game, they met with the media after Warroad won in overtime. Be better. Last up on our best of the weekend, how about be better? Congratulations to Tyler Oaks and the Bison baseball team. I texted Oaks when I was in Nashville back in January because we were at, obviously, the football stadium. Right next door is the Vanderbilt baseball stadium, and it is fabulous. If you are a baseball fan, checking out Hawkins Field is mandatory. Well, and I said, hey, check it out where you're going to play here in a couple months. The Bison played 3 games with Vanderbilt this weekend. They got hammered the first 2 games, and Vanderbilt is Vanderbilt, right? They won a couple titles. Bison got an early lead on a Kyle Law RBI single. It was a 4-2 score when the Bison added to it. Diego Trio scores. There are singles up the middle. That's the score. Caleb Corwin makes it a 5-2 lead. They got dynamite pitching from Zach Szabo yesterday, who went 4 innings, didn't allow a run. The Bison go into Vandy and win it. 5-2, they beat Vanderbilt yesterday. That is a great win for a team that has taken its lumps. They only had 1 win in 13 tries heading into yesterday, and they played some tough teams. This was on my timeline all day yesterday, considering Vanderbilt doesn't really lose at home ever, especially in non-conference games. Shout out to the Bison there as they're closing in. Summit League play begins at the end of the month. We are almost there for the start of the baseball conference season. They are the reigning tournament champions of the Bison. Congrats to Tyler Oaks' team for getting a nice win yesterday against Vanderbilt. All right, we'll break. We come back. We'll get your emails and some breaking quarterback news on one Jet Feeney. That's coming up when we come back. All right, welcome back, everybody. Final half hour. We are guest-free because we've got emails aplenty to get to, including one I wasn't expecting from upstairs. Maddie sent an email out. In the subject email, got my attention immediately because it says Little Debbie. It says, in honor of the NCAA March Madness bracket coming out this month, the Culture Committee, which we have here, decided to get in on the fun. However, instead of basketball teams, we'll have the famous Little Debbie treats compete head-to-head each week to crown the best one. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now. We have a dedicated viewer, listener of the show who actually works for Little Debbie that sent me the first week we did the show because they know how much of a snack hoarder I am, like a case of stuff. So I'm looking at the bracket already, and if we're seeding these, Zebra Cakes is a 1 seed, and it's not even close. Like that, if Zebra Cakes does not win this tournament, then these people have no idea what they're voting on. Some of these on here are, I've never had honey buns? Like, what? No, get out of here. Fudge Rounds is darn good as well. Fudge Rounds could make a heck of a run. Now, there's a couple others on here. The Swiss Cake Rolls, which is the Little Debbie knockoff of the Ho-Hos, are okay. Nutty Buddies are also tremendous. I could honestly eat a case of them right now probably without even hesitation. I don't know why I'm not 300 pounds, but And literally last week, the frosted fudge, I had those here at the office literally last week. People are going to say oatmeal cream pies. They're okay. I can't believe the Christmas tree. Do they still make those? Little W used to make how is that not on this bracket? That is, what are we doing? We left out those. Those are tremendous. Because I think they had white frosting on the inside. Those are dynamite. But that's what we have. These, what are these, strawberry what? Shortcake rolls? No. Cosmic brownies, I bet you will get some run. Just because of the age bracket of people that we have here, I bet you those were a lunch treat that went with kids when they were kids to school. I bet you that gets some run here. But I'm telling you right now, it's zebra cakes and it's not even close. I have them at my house right now. The Jack man has gone down the road. He's like, yeah, they're okay. I'm like, no, buddy, they're fantastic. So there you have it. I'm curious to see what wins on this here. Eric says Swiss. By the way, are you all right? You sound dead to me in here. Are you feeling okay this morning? You don't have to get on the headset if you don't want to. I don't want to make you talk.
This is what happens when we have to do 14 games up at EDC.
Yeah.
And you probably catch something from a high school kid.
Son of a.
And
what are you doing working then? Get out of here. Go home. Don't be sick.
I got to do Region 1 basketball tonight.
You know, we got other people that can work.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it, so.
Well, Matt's sitting right there. He's getting contagion from you right there.
He's fine. It's just
look at he's gonna leave. Look at he left. He's out of here. I don't blame him.
It's just a sore throat. I'll be fine.
He's probably going to get some zebra cake. Go get some zebra cakes for us, Matt. Let's do that. All right, let's get some emails in here. We got a lot to catch up on. We got some really good ones as well. Let's get here we go. The players are not wrong about the difficulty of playing in Sioux Falls. However, insofar as this is a problem, it's one of fan support. There'll be more Bison fans at every road football game this fall than we saw in Sioux Falls the entire weekend. Bison fans have every opportunity to invade Sioux Falls in the same manner they invade any road or neutral site for football. That they do not do it for basketball in Sioux Falls is a choice. That is absolutely correct. It doesn't mean that you cannot shake your head at it, because I had a couple people come up and say, Dom, you guilted me into coming, which, fine, but why did it have to come to that? You know, why did it have to be on my soapbox saying, what are we doing? Like, our poll, I think, actually resonated with people that said 32% said it was too far. Too far? Really? These are two historic seasons that are happening. And people didn't want to get off their butts and come to the game. Dom, I think you saw who the real MVP was last night. That's referring to Brooklyn Meyer over Avery Coonan. Dom, my only complaint with the SDSU fans who want to get on the Bison fans for not showing up like their fans do. I've been down there 3 times, and I see all those gray-haired people at the games. Not picking on them. I'm 65, but there's no way you can tell me that all those people living on fixed incomes would love to come to Fargo and pay for 4 nights in a hotel, tickets, restaurants, gas, and more. There's no way you can compare the cost for people living around the Sioux Falls area and people coming from Fargo. I'm surprised at all the shots the Jacks fans are taking at the Bison for moving to the Mountain West. You know, stuff like you can't come to Sioux Falls, but you're going to go to Vegas, New Mexico, and Hawaii for games. They dislike us and criticize everything we do, so you would think they would be glad we are gone. There is definitely a certain age bracket that goes to the game. I think people just like going. Even last night, my dad texted me because he was watching the game. He says, oh, the crowd doesn't look that good. And honestly, they were smart. They put everybody on the TV side of it because behind us wasn't great. And obviously without a South Dakota school in the championship on the men's side, and we knew that come Friday at 8 o'clock when the Coyotes lost, like, all right, this is going to be different. Had St. Thomas won Saturday? No, I don't think there was this great swell of people coming from St. Paul to watch them play. I just don't. I don't know. I mean, they make money on it. Fenton was adamant with me when we visited on Friday about the tournament and how this works going forward and other potential sites that people had been out there to do it. Just, they're going to stay there. This is a really good email. I wanted to get to this one before we talk some Jet Feeney. Dom, watching the tournament from the comfort of my couch all weekend, I have thought of your comments on trying to get NDSU fans there. And been trying to put into words on why not many fans make it down. Honestly, you missed that many NDSU fans are not all in Fargo. And I had that said to me, and I acknowledge that. We are in Crosby, Devil's Lake, and Williston. Those are long trips to a town that's not really overly a destination trip to go drop $4,000 for the weekend. That would be for my family of 5. Plus, we had 50 million other things with the kids going on at the same time. Yes, a fan would drop that on a weekend in Frisco or Nashville, but that feels more like a vacation than a short road trip. I view Sioux Falls as like Fargo. I can go wherever I want. Also, the tournament has been in Sioux Falls for 21 years. I think it's become the new Frisco for some that have been there and done that and would like something new. I know this is a big deal for Sioux Falls. By no means they should move it to Fargo, but I just think it needs a change like Nashville did for the FCS championship game. I will agree with that point. Not sure where to move it, but for SDSU fans and USD fans, it's pretty easy to take it all in all weekend. I know you may not agree with all of this, but what I thought, thanks for the great coverage of NDSU and high school sports. It was a great weekend. That was a really good email. I appreciate that. I know it was a little long. There's a lot of good points on that. I would say I understand, not all of our viewers are in the Fargo-Moorhead area. Got it, and I appreciate that. 2, understood, and I talked with a couple of former players. Hey, we had a ton going on. I could only get down Sunday. Yep. And it's a commitment, and you don't know how long you're going to be there. It could have been one and done, and you're heading back. I get that too. But if you're just not interested in it, then just flat out say it. And people did. I think that was the other part of the poll. I think 27% said we're not interested. Like, okay, fine. At least then you're honest about it. But to me, this is what the Bison men did last night, what the Bison women had a chance to do, is the biggest thing we have next to the Super Bowl in this country. The NCAA basketball tournament, everybody will do a bracket. Everybody, I'm sure I'll have buddies of mine from back home asking me about the Bison because, the nickname, and North Dakota State is in there. That's a cool deal. We know them in football. Wow, they're good in basketball too. It carries a different weight than anything else. I mean, college football is immensely popular, but for the next 3 weeks, basketball's tournament is the biggest thing, and North Dakota State's team is in it. There were more people there yesterday. That was great to see. Frankly, I would be okay, and I told Josh Fenton this, move it around. Let's just see where else could get. Let Minneapolis have it for a year or two. Maybe try Omaha for a year or two. Kansas City, something to see what other markets would do. Would the Jack fans and the Coyote fans travel? I don't know. I could say, would Bison fans go to Kansas City? Probably not. Maybe I'm mistaken on that. I don't know. I think everybody, football-wise, to our emailer's point, was excited that Nashville was on the docket. It wasn't Frisco. I had been to Frisco 5 times. I wasn't going to go again. I had been 8 times. I wanted something new. Obviously, the team has to cooperate and make it, which didn't happen. But I think there was a palpable excitement about a new destination to go to. Maybe that's what the league needs a lot. They need 2 more teams and maybe not necessarily a jolt. There were 7,800 people at the women's game yesterday. They made money. And the bottom line, that's what the league's going to come back and tell you. Like, we made a profit. Why would we leave? We have tremendous sponsorship. People enjoy the tournament. It's a big deal for the city of Sioux Falls and the economy there. Why would we take it out of a place that we're making some good scratch? That's the catch-22 of it all. Really appreciate all the emails coming in on that. Let's get this quick in because we got to wrap up the show here because we had a little breaking news for to start the show. And we now know the last Moorhead Spud football player where he's going to go play college football. No surprise. It's the University of Minnesota. Jet Feeney announced this morning that he will join his teammates, David Mack and Tay Rich, at the University of Minnesota. And frankly, you can't be too surprised on this. I'm hopeful we're going to have Jet chat with us tomorrow on the show. had a great season after coming back from the injury and leading Moorhead all the way to the state championship game. 3 years as a starter, thrown for over 8,000 yards and 104 touchdowns. He threw just 2 picks last year, one of them, of course, in the state championship game against Edina. But I think as we followed Moorhead last year, Jet played himself into FBS/Power 4 conversation. Some of these throws you're seeing, this is in the semifinals. This one, I mean, is right in the bucket. That is a fabulous throw. It's a great catch by Zach Walker, but that is a great throw by Jet Feedy. 6'1", 190 pounds, and I believe Minnesota already had a QB for 2027. They do. They had a guy from California already verbally commit. That's why I think Bison staff and fans were hopeful that maybe they could get him to come to Fargo. Obviously, his dad, Kevin, a legendary Bison quarterback. Montana State had offered him, Wyoming had offered him, and NDSU had offered him, and he's going to play with the University of Minnesota. So all 3 of them will be Gophers coming up in the fall of 2027. Pretty good stuff there. All right, we'll take our final break. We come back, we'll wrap things up. We're falling into a Monday. We got to show that best piece of video from last week in Sioux Falls with our guy Ryan Powell. Hot Mic wraps after this. What is this? Zebra cake rolls? I'm not aware of these. Now, I guess if you want to combine them, zebra cakes are fun. See, this is... You don't need to go mess with anything. It's perfect. I'm assuming this is very popular. The zebra cake rolls, apparently. I don't know. That's not my cup of tea. The zebra cakes are fine. I have to go. I have a grocery store trip because I missed it yesterday with being out of town. Now, might just stack up here on the other bracket here. Email comes in. Oatmeal cream cakes. Good fiber helps make up for the calories. Well, all right. They're fine. They're not in the top 5 here. If that advances, that's a 15 over a 2 kind of upset in our bracket. A lot of emails today. I really appreciate the feedback. Dom, St. Thomas feels like Bison fans did when the football team lost. Numb. I think that's very accurate today on them. Dom, what's the under-over on UND fans in Sioux Falls if it's a hockey game versus Augie? Well, we could find out. UND is likely going to go to Sioux Falls because the Premier Center is hosting a regional here in 2 weeks' time. I would imagine it's well attended. So let's put the under over at 5K. Probably take the over. Let's see. I know Eric and I were there a couple years, whatever year it was, when the last time Sioux Falls hosted, and UND didn't make it or didn't make the tournament. And they were flat out, they were just disgusted. They were not thrilled because they knew that the attendance was not going to be good because UND wasn't going to be there. And I got a feeling they are hopeful, very hopeful that UND is going to be heading to Sioux Falls here in a couple weeks' time. UND advanced over Omaha this past weekend in the opening round of the NCHC tournament, which we know is going under a different format now. No more frozen face-off or anything like that. It's home sites, which is UND to host for the semifinals and the final over the next 2 weekends if they're able to advance. So a lot of emails today. Appreciate all the feedback. It was good stuff. And again, we'll wait and see now between now and Sunday for both Bison basketball teams. We know there's at least one more game to come for both of them. We'll see if for the Bison women if it's in the NCAA tournament. All right, let's do some what to watch before we get out of here. Again, we're waiting on bated breath for the Mountain West to reveal its schedule. It's going to come out, of course, after the show, so stay tuned for that tomorrow. We got 2 automatic bids on the line tonight from friends of ours. Furman and East Tennessee State. That's the SoCon Championship tonight on ESPN at 6. The Sun Belt title game is Georgia Southern and Troy. All of these teams we know them from FCS days. That's on ESPN2 tonight at 6 o'clock. The Nuggets and the Thunder play a good one, 6:30 on Peacock. I have not watched an inning yet of the World Baseball Classic. I will do that tonight. The United States plays tonight. I am eager to see how that goes. We got to roll. Thanks to our guest today, to Jeff Kolpack and to Sam Herder. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. There, the Bison celebration still ongoing. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you back here tomorrow.